Hey, Lenny.
Hello, hello. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. What about you?
Yeah, hanging in there.
Oh, that sounds hard work.
Yeah, at the moment it is, which is
So,
fine, but it's sorry.
so are you making use of it?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I try but as good as I can, and I try to not, you know, resist it. But I mean, honestly, there are times when it hurts so bad that I feel like I don't know. Maybe I just stop it. I mean, I don't, but these thoughts are also coming up because I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just like feels like every day it's coming with the same force again. Feels like an endless cycle. And then there is sometimes this feeling like, well, you know what? I could just distract myself. I could just go out with people and have fun and pretend like it's not there. And for a little while, that even works.
Hmm.
And but I know, I mean, this is what I have to do and like really look. But sometimes I also feel like I'm not getting it. I really feel like
Yep.
there's
So all those
one
things come
thing.
up, feeling
What
like you're
comes up?
not, all feelings like you're not getting it. Feelings like, why don't I forget it? Right. Next time it comes up, this idea that maybe I'll just forget it. Right. Instead of saying, no, I can't, have a go at it. See if you can forget it. I bet you can't, but have a go at it. It's resisting that's where the issues are. The juice for you to work on is the resistance. So whatever comes up, can you just imagine, no matter what comes up, anything, good, bad, anything at all, if you just go, okay, isn't that interesting? Not looking for an answer, not looking for what it means, just whatever is there, okay.
Well, I mean, but I think I'm trying this for the last days. Um, because like the last days, like every day I wake up with this burning feeling in my chest. And I mean, that is actually my first reaction always is like, okay, so this is happening right now. And I just stay with it. Then I stay with it like for 3 or 4 hours. And I mean, there is thoughts popping up, and I notice like, yeah, they really, I mean, I try to detach it sometimes, sometimes not, but like if I don't, they really ignite it like so much more.
Okay, yeah. All right, so how about this? Any any sensory stimulation you get is
Hmm.
is likely to last about 1.5 minutes, because what that
Okay.
sensory stimulation is a excitement of a sensory organ, whether it's your skin or whether it's internal, whether it's tactile or audible or visual, no matter what it is, it's an excitement of a sensory organ. And those things last, they happen, they reach a peak and they fade out in 90 seconds usually. Now, the fact that you have this sensation in your chest for an hour and a half suggests to me very strongly that it's re-stimulated
Yeah.
frequently,
All yeah.
constantly. Yeah.
And I mean, and
So,
that does happen through, I don't know, if I'm for a second not like really in the moment, and if I'm for a second not like completely watching, if I'm just doing a little other thing, just I don't know, like bringing away my plates or something, um, then it's re-stimulated. So it's kind of, yeah. I mean, in a sense, it feels like either I go into full distraction or I just stay on top of it like all the fucking time.
mm,
But it's just like so tiring.
Yeah, of course it is. So that idea of staying on top of it,
No, not on top, it's the wrong word. Not just like looking at it, like really
yes,
being with it. Yeah, not on top. I know I cannot be on top.
yeah, it's a bit the same though, isn't it? It's that you need to keep effort, to
Yeah,
keep awareness, to keep looking at it, and that gives
yeah,
you a sense of control. Even though it doesn't work fully, it's like it's better than if I let go and it gets worse.
yeah. I mean, because I get sucked into thoughts then so easily, and in wants and shoulds,
Yep,
and then they grow like weed and get bigger, and like
yep,
the stories get like bigger. So if I don't look, I feel like yeah, this entire garden gets overgrown
right.
somehow.
So you spend your life frantically pulling weeds.
I guess yes. Right now, yes.
Mm, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, very often it helps if I just look at it and I see like, oh, okay, that's a want. I mean, I don't even do much about it. I just,
Yep.
try to just observe and not because I know I cannot change anything.
So would
But
you say that observing comes with it the intention to change things or desire to, if not the intention?
I mean, I know I shouldn't. But don't get me wrong, it hurts like hell. It fucking
Yes.
hurts like hell. And
Yeah.
like every day waking up with this gut punch. At some point, I would wish that things change. At some
Mm,
point, yes. I mean, not at the moment because I know I've read so much about it. I heard you guys so much like, and I actually when I've been into this state for 2 days, I also knew like every time when you actually want to change something, that's what leads you away because this state is being okay with everything that happens. And I mean, I think that already helped me so much to make this entire thing more bearable. Still, it's just sitting in so much pain
yes. Yep.
all the
Yep.
time. And not trying to change that is at some point even also like that wears out too. Some point you just
Yeah.
feel like,
Yeah.
please go away. Yeah.
Mm.
But I know I shouldn't. And I really
Yeah. Yeah. No.
even I
No.
even
See
observe
this.
that. I
this
observe even that if this comes up and I say like you wanted to change. Ah, okay, so there's a thought that wants
yeah.
change.
Now,
And
when
then
there's a thought, when there's a thought that says I want to change,
uh,
you're then responding to that with I want to change that thought. I shouldn't want to change.
I mean I try to see like I try to respond to all of them with like, ah, okay, this is happening.
Mm. So, so how successful are you with wanting to change that?
Not I mean
Yes, exactly.
not no, yeah.
Yes. So what
No.
what's left for you? What's left for you but to give up and accept whatever turns up?
Yep. And I mean, but I wonder, like, okay, if you give up, because like I also felt like the last days, I also just said like, this is it. This is how it is. This is just how it will be. But
No,
then,
no, no, no. That's not logical. This is how it is means nothing about how it will be. That's an illogical conclusion.
okay,
Does that make sense to
okay,
you? How it is now is how it is now, and that's all you can say. You have no idea
okay.
how it will be.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right. It's just like as like for the last months, it was always like this every morning, waking up with that. Yeah, it was probably just an extrapolating of something that I have. But I
Yeah,
know you're right.
that's what
Yeah,
we
you're right.
do. That's quite normal. And the thing is, if that happens, That's what's happened. How can you change what's already happened? Isn't it true that whatever has happened, by the time you realize it, it's already finished. It's already done.
Yeah.
Each moment, each instant is already done. Right? The
Mm.
next instant may appear to be the same, but there are slight differences if you get close enough to it. But it is what it is, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it because it's finished. The delay in time from when it happens to when you become aware of it means that it is in the past, even if the next one appears to be somewhat the same. But your awareness always lags what actually happens. So if you tell yourself the story that if I stop doing anything and just accept that it will always be this way, that has terrible outcomes, doesn't it? And it's and
Yeah.
it's and it's just a fantasy that it will always be this way. Yet it seems like it will always be this way. That's valid. That's very valid. But it seems like not not anything other than some conclusion that the mind comes to. How hard is it? I get that it's hard, yet I'm not in it myself, so I can't feel that futility that you feel. My heart goes out to you with great compassion, but that doesn't mean anything to you, just to me. That it's so fucking terrible that you have to live with this at the moment. And you will have to live with it until you don't. There's no getting around that, is there?
I
So
know.
if you will have to live with it until you don't, what can you do but give up? You can keep fighting it, but that hasn't worked, has it?
I mean, one question that I really have, and it's really a burning question, is like, I mean, if I follow also uh, Pernil Damore or other non-dual guides, I mean, they also say like, you should do, or not you should, but like there's this inquiry, where you feel into a feeling and I don't know, ask if it wants to tell you something because maybe there is something deeper underneath it that you haven't looked and haven't given compassion yet and haven't given the space to feel it yet. And I don't know, and that is one thing that I don't know if there is like a major, huge um dark spot on
Yep.
this that I haven't seen yet, and that's maybe why I keep repeating the same feeling with the same intensity because it kind of feels like it's not really changing much. It's kind
Yep.
of staying the
Yep.
same, and especially like every day in the morning, it comes with the same intensity again. So I feel like is there something a blind spot that I haven't seen or felt yet or looked at, and if I am now bypassing it by just like cutting it off on all the stories and just going into the raw sensation, which I'm doing now most of the time. Yeah. So I
Yep.
don't know.
I
I
get
just
what.
wanted to know before I
Yep.
give up that I've done everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I get what you're saying, and it's very likely right that there is some shadow there that is what you're responding to. The idea that you have to see it and and expel it isn't right. That the acknowledgement that there is something there is enough.
okay.
Just acknowledging that there is something there. You don't have to know what it is. Every one of us carries a history. And if that history has trauma in it, then that's what we'll respond to until we recognize that we're responding to something. that is there from before.
Yeah.
Now, if you could see what it is, I was going to say, if you could see what it is, that usually means that you can get rid of it, but it doesn't. You know what? It doesn't. A lot of people can see what it is, and yet they still hang on to it because it's not about that thing. It's not about your history. It's about what you've got now, and that thing is your relationship to it. It is how you feel about it. It is the connection. It is the identification. It is you saying, that is me. And with that is the creation of a self.
Yeah, how do you de-identify from something that is like so burning and like makes this entire center of this field of awareness? Because I mean, it still feels like this is in the center and this fucking burns like hell. It's so hard to not
Yeah. Yeah,
keep
I
looking.
get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And wanting to get rid of it is not wrong. Engaging with wanting to get rid of it just won't succeed. That's all. Engaging with what is there now, which may well be a result of that, is what will succeed. Engaging with that. So when you say you're saying with the sensations that turn up, you're not. You're not with them enough to see through, to see past what those sensations are telling you. You're stopping, and it's kind of stupid to say this, but you're stopping before full engagement with them. You want to talk to somebody? That's okay.
That's because like somebody came into the room. Wait, I'll just give her one. Ah, okay. So okay, no, then unfortunately I have to stop then in 2 minutes or
Yeah,
something. But I'm so happy that we could talk. I
yeah,
didn't know.
yeah.
Can you please finish that and then yeah, and then I won't
You,
take space of all the others as well. Anyway.
your space. That's your space as long as you need it. You go and talk to them and finish that, and then come back. That's
Oh yeah.
fine. Yep.
I mean, yeah, or if it's okay, I would rather that we finish now and then I go because like she will now otherwise wait.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right.
So you were saying like I'm not engaging enough, because otherwise I would see through.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
So when you're staying with those sensations,
Uh,
there's a level of engagement below what you're experiencing, and I can only arrive at that conclusion logically. So it may not be accurate, but I think so. That if you were to engage with those sensations at a level beyond anywhere that you can label them, and it gets very difficult with words here.
mhm.
If you were to engage with them, I'll say this, if you were to engage with them at the point where you become the sensations, that I can only give you a story to.
Mhm.
I'm getting an echo here. Can you hear me okay?
Wait, I can just go on silent. That is what I can do in my.
Yep. Okay. So engaging with those sensations beyond where you can describe them. Right? Now there is the raw sensation that you're experiencing, and then there is a response to the meaning that your mind gives them. And that's the level where I imagine you're getting locked up, that you're feeling this sensation and you're then saying that means something, and you're responding to that meaning rather than to the sensation itself.
I mean, I do try to get away from it as a label, but what probably, and that's something I really want to look into, is that there might still be like this labeling of it hurts,
Yes.
uh, and it's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can try. I mean, sometimes I think I even dive through that, and again, and then it even there is a point where it then even sometimes even gets not uncomfortable anymore.
Yes.
I also have that
That's the
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what will happen when you get close enough to those sensations. It will change. The discomfort will be raw physical pain rather than horrible emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, just recognize that regardless of what was there from the past, it is your connection to that now
Hmm.
that we need to heal. That's where the identification takes place. And it's not something we can control. It's something we can only discover.
Hmm.
Right. So forget about the past and what might be there, the shadow that might be in there that's causing this, and recognize that it is your relationship to what is there now that is the key for you to
Hmm.
transcend this.
Okay, I'll look into that.
Yeah.
I hope it lead.
Yeah. Okay. Look, email me if you feel inclined. Email me and we'll set up a session and go look at some of that shadow stuff if that's what you feel is necessary.
That would be amazing. That would actually be really amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, but then um I really gotta go now. I'm so
Yeah. Okay.
thankful. And I hope to see you guys on Saturday again.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay. Good one. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
okay. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye bye. Hmm. The rhetorical question arises: why does it hurt me so much to witness somebody else's pain? Of course, I know the answer to that, even though I can't articulate it. It's crazy, isn't it? Oh, it's so amazing, us humans. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, how are you, Maya? Haven't heard from you in a long time. Seen you glimpses of you, but that's all.
I I live in a complete chaos. I rarely sleep in the same bed for more than 2 or 3 nights. It's really breakdown of the complete system, and I I so often think I'm thinking of you and the meetings so often, and I think to myself, if I told that to Vince now, he would say, "You're in a good place. You're in a good place." When everything breaks down, so I'm sitting in a marvelous place.
Do
um,
you do you do you look at that place from that perspective? Yeah.
I do. I do. Not always, because I'm not able to do it
Yeah.
all
Sure.
the time. I'm not in the Zen for the whole time, but often, often
Mm.
I do see it as a good place. And the best part of it is now, I mean, the one that hurts the most is that we are really moving now. Uh, and I'm now with my parents. I will stay here for a month, maybe. So same bed for a month. It's a really luxury for me. And in that time, my husband has to move the whole house from Winchester to London.
Oh, that's
And
it's good that he has the job.
yes, yes. Yeah, but he'll engage someone. He'll hire someone
Oh, of course.
to
Yeah,
pack
yeah, yeah.
because otherwise I couldn't do anything because life was so crazy and
Mm.
looking for a place and whether we will buy or rent and mortgages and not mortgages and this and that everything and me with my parents with my job with flying everything it was really like a bomb in my life.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So
So
this fixes up a few things at once, eh?
yeah,
So takes away the hectic nature of flying all the time and being in different places.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the worst
But then it,
part is yeah, please do
I was just
go
going to
on.
say, but then it leaves you in the situation with your mother
Yeah,
constantly for a while.
you know,
Yeah.
you know how the situation is when I'm looking forward to mom sitting for a month
Yeah.
because it was like that to go away to have a few weeks free. So okay, now I wanted to say the worst part of the whole thing is me losing my home. What was home now in Winchester? And I see it as an attachment. As I'm grasping. I'm sad. I do look at the sadness, and I see that I'm attached to the place that wasn't mine, that was never mine, and that I knew that someday I will have to go from.
Mm. So
So
is there a part of you that can dive down into the details of just what is this attachment? What are the if we get really close to the attachment, is it the familiarity? Is it the design of the place? Is it the just knowing that it's stable, that you're there? What are the details of this attachment? And is this
it's
attachment something that you're losing, or is it something else? Is it one of the details of the attachment that you're actually
hmm,
losing, and not other details?
there are more. The first one is the tranquility.
Mm.
It's very quiet. It's quiet, and I'm moving to the center of London, near to the heliport.
Oh,
So it will
the
be
opposite of quiet. Yeah.
little crazy, and I'm somehow I see the fear of not having a quiet place anymore because going to this place between this place and my parents' place, there's no there's no quiet.
Mm,
So
mm,
I'm looking at a third spot, the house of my grandparents, to go from time to time just to have the quiet because I will need it.
yeah. So do you? I mean, I'm sure that you do, at least intellectually, understand that those people that live right next to a railway line stop hearing the trains,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
and
How's it's
I mean the
attention,
flat
isn't
is
it?
yeah, it's just attention, and the flat is good isolated because it's built when the heliport was already there. So the flats are really good insulated. I don't need to hear. I don't have to listen to
Yes.
this all the time if I
Has
don't
double
want to.
glazed windows and all that stuff, eh? Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So it's fine. I've been there. I've seen it. So it's not something I don't know what I'm engaging with. So this is okay. The second thing, maybe more important, the stability of the home, this will stay, and we will be all three of us together, the daughter with us, because it's cheaper this way to live three of us at the same place. So we will be together, and the home is stable, the family is stable, this is okay. But somehow the house feels like me. You know, it's the I had the idea this is the last place of me. And I'm working with this me of mine, you know, that I
Yes, yes.
can get rid of it.
So the house you're leaving feels like me. Is that right? What you're
Yeah.
saying? Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
And this is
So,
the
so
last point.
does that shout out to you that here is a thread of identification?
Yeah. Yes. This is the most difficult part for me.
Mm. So it's not about breaking that. It's about seeing what the connection is. How does the house feel like you? It feels synchronous with some feeling that you have, I imagine.
Safety and the whole town. It was the place I came to when after I was sick, after the whole year of chemotherapy, and I got there. I changed everything, and I thought I was going to be there forever, and I was alive, which was an achievement for me. Not an achievement. I didn't do it, but it was
Yeah, I know what you mean.
something.
Yeah, something to celebrate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And this quiet place, and I'm alive, and I can start a new life somehow.
Mm. So is there something sneaking in that says leaving this place makes you more vulnerable to
Yes.
something?
Yeah. To the old life, to the old hectic life. Something like a magic spell will break. It was magic being there,
Yes, yes.
being alive, being there, and the town is beautiful.
Mm.
The town is really, really beautiful. Opening my house and seeing this old English town, it was wow. Every day for 7 years, for 6 years, I was amazed at it all the time.
So what is the main reason you're leaving this wonderfulness for something else?
Um, the main reason came later. We started looking earlier. The first reason was because we were apart now and we had to pay two rents, one for our daughter, one for us. It's cheaper to live together.
Right.
The second thing, also less important, my husband works from home and I travel all the time. I have another life out of the small town, but he was in a small town, sitting, having nowhere to go or not many places to go. So he will be happier in London. He'll be much, much happier in London.
Mm.
And I'm one foot here, one foot there. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And
yeah,
your daughter prefers London?
she studies there. So
Yeah.
and she
So
prefers it too. Yes. But
suits
the
that. Yeah.
third, the main reason came the latest. The house is going for it's getting sold, so we had to move out anyway.
Oh, okay. You were renting that
Yeah.
place. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh well, that's a big one. That's one you couldn't avoid. Not out of your hands
Yeah.
entirely. That one, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. We would
Yeah.
have to move anyway. So if we move, we will do it the way that suits
Right.
the most.
Right.
Yeah.
So what if I said to you something that probably obvious the moment you think about it, and that is that regardless of the difference between Winchester and London, there is magic in London too?
I'm thinking of it, and I think it will be exciting. Although nowadays I don't think much about what will be somehow, because every time that a thought comes to me, it will be something, will be, or I expect something to be, I just dismiss it. Okay, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know what to think about this. So it will be exciting. Okay. I will find something new. Okay. And somehow, this is crazy. I magically thought I'm healthy here now and nothing can happen to me anymore. But now I'm moving away from it. So this part of certainty is falling away. And I know that it's good that certainty is falling away, that I'm understanding that there is no certainty. I'm moving to a
Mm.
place where I know there's no certainty, which is better than
Sure.
thinking that there is.
But it's also true that when you move to Winchester with good renewed health, you're also moving to London with good health.
Yeah, actually, yes. It's true. Even with better health now, because then I didn't know how things will develop. It was still very fresh. You never know
Yes,
which way
of course.
it will go. But now I do. Everything's fine. I'm fine.
Mm.
So
Yep. And it's the two bits of magic that will be not so obvious maybe will be the fact that your husband is enjoying it and the fact that your daughter is enjoying it in her own way as well. So they're there, maybe not as obvious as some of the other magic, but that's still part of it, eh?
and I know I will enjoy it because I love London.
Mm. Yeah.
So
So what's going on for you now, although not right now, in a way, we're talking about that future thing again, is that there is some change taking place, some transition is happening. Yeah. But
yes.
as you say, that's in the future in a way, even though that's happening while you're not there, where you are right now, there's not change. Well, not the same kind of change.
I have this thought that I know it's torturing me and it's really childish, like I'll never go there again. Oh, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and isn't it wonderful that that's okay and it's seen, isn't it? That's great, isn't
yeah,
it? Yeah,
I see it for what it is. It's
yeah,
funny. It's fun. Like little children. Oh,
yeah,
I want
exactly.
again.
We all have that little child in us, every one of us, no matter
Yeah,
who.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah. Otherwise, in other news, uh, somehow in middle of all of it, because I'm not able to hold all the strings in my hands anymore. I'm letting go because I have to. And yesterday, I was really, there are some little bits of things, of insights coming to me, like some beliefs, seeing for being beliefs and nothing else. And I'm not able to say which ones because, as you
Mm,
said, yeah, long time no see. So a little things happen, like really little tiny steps changing for me,
yes.
beliefs falling off. And then yesterday evening, I was, I try, and then who is me? Who is me? Who is this me that hears? Who is this me that looks? This and that and everything. And then in the evening, I thought to myself, why am I trying so much? Fuck everything. And it was so good. It didn't bring me far. Not not. It didn't bring me an instant epiphany, but somehow for this moment, I was relieved from everything. I didn't have to
Yes,
do anything. I didn't have to do inquiry. I didn't have to do anything.
exactly. Yes, yeah.
Like centimeter by centimeter, but I am letting go of control, letting go of beliefs. But it's really a slow process for me.
It is, and it never stops.
Yeah.
And centimeters will become millimeters, and millimeters will become fractions of millimeters. Whatever is a millionth
Yeah.
of a liter, whatever. But anyway, yes, it gets more and more subtle. For me these days, there's subtle stuff happening that is recognizable that it is happening, but impossible to communicate or to describe.
Mm.
You know, that only metaphor can even begin to touch it. You know, yeah, very, very subtle identifications, very subtle recognition of where I create a self out of nothing just by
Mm.
believing something. Yeah, it will continue, but it needn't be the horses dragging the carriage. You know, it can just be the road that the whole lot goes on, so to speak. You know, or
Mm.
I don't know if that's a good metaphor, but nevertheless, it's like we can forget all about waking up and go back to chopping wood and carrying water, just doing our daily stuff. And this stuff will still continue. It's established enough in you now that there will be these little sparks, if you like, of realization about your relationship to things. And that will change.
Mhm.
But it will become so subtle and so impossible to talk about even that, but it will continue. You know, you know that idea of stream entry. Well, you've waded up the beginning of the stream to the where you're up to your hips now, and there's no point of doing anything except just continuing. That's all you can do. You don't do it, but
Mm.
you know what I mean. Yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a very, very subtle stuff. Um, it gets more and more subtle.
One of the beliefs that it didn't fall away, but I'm chipping off on it, is that something big has to happen. Nothing has to
Yeah.
I'm too tired. I'm too tired to hold this belief.
Well,
I'm
that's
too
that's
tired.
that's the way it goes sometimes. You know, we just get bored with it. You know, that metaphor I use frequently: go to the magician show every single matinee and watch him saw a woman in half, and sooner or later you just couldn't be bothered anymore. It's not like you'd ever find out how it happens. It just gets
Yeah,
boring, you know, there. Yeah,
yeah. I don't care if I wake up or not. I'm too tired. I'm too tired to expect. And
exactly.
it's in the future. Will it happen? Won't it happen? Who knows?
Right. So what I expect will happen is that am I awake or not? Will I wake up or not? Will change, will morph into, you know what? It doesn't matter. You know what? It's not a real thing. It's just here. What's happened is all I can kind of describe. If I had to write a story about it, it would be pretty boring story. You know, there's not any great highlights. There's just these subtle changes that have moved and moved and moved and moved. And then finally, you know, well, not finally, but here we are at this point where, you know what, it's, there's nothing. It's nothing. It's not, there is no such thing as waking up. There is only waking up for people that are seeking. Once somebody wakes up, they realize it's a load of shit. It's not nothing. It's not there.
I think I'm close to it. Although what I think doesn't matter.
Absolutely. That's part of it. Very good.
There is only one thing is missing. One thing is missing. Uh, and this is something that I'm expecting, and I see that it's my expectation, and expectations don't matter. Okay, so I'm expecting to see and to feel this joy at some point, this this quiet joy that you and Marius are talking about. There's no joy for me. There's just tiredness at this point.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I somehow I know some moments of joy that I love and joy that feel special to me, and I know when they happen. And I thought about reverse engineer it to try to explore this joy when it happens, and it happens at the moment when I hit the pillow with my head.
Yep. Yep.
There's some special moment of joy for me,
Yes.
even
Okay.
even
So
in hardest.
you could play with that a little, and one way you could play with it, and it's a game, is next time you feel that joy and you recognize that you're feeling that joy, anchor the sensation of what it is you're experiencing. Just look at where is it, and go, I'm going to remember this. I'm going to remember where it is and what it feels like. And you won't be able to put words to it. It will be too subtle for that, but it will be substantial enough for you to anchor it, right? And then as an experiment, at some point in the middle of not feeling that, the thought will arise, oh, I wonder if I can get back to that feeling. And that in itself will be enough to propel you back into that, a momentary feeling of that joy, right there in the
Okay.
middle of whatever it is you're doing. Right? I'm going to say to you this: you probably experience that moment of joy more than you realise, but because there are no thoughts in it, you don't remember it
Okay. Possible.
because it is a pure sensory experience. There are no
Yeah.
thoughts. The only thought is the one that turns up that says, "Ah, I'm having that moment of joy."
Yes. 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 And it was. It's. I cannot explain. It comes even in hardest of days sometimes
Hmm.
when I have no reason for joy to be to feel this way, but it does
Yeah,
come.
yeah.
It happens.
I'm I'm laughing. I'm laughing here because joy does not need a reason to come. It's not an
Yeah.
out. It's not a result.
Yeah.
That's a major discovery in my mind. That's why I'm so excited about that. We would think of joy as the result of something, but it's not. It's not.
Something.
It has its own life, if you like. I don't know how to put it. Yeah, and that's why it can
I'll
come
have.
at surprising moments in the middle of
Yeah.
total crap. It can turn up. Yes.
Mm. Mm. I'll have to explore
Yeah.
it. Thank you very much, but I'll also have to go. I'm at work. I have an
Okay.
exam now.
Okay. You'll enjoy that exam.
I'm, I'm dreading it as much as the students.
uh,
Okay. See you soon, hopefully.
yes.
Now, when I.
Good one. Great talking to you. I always enjoy talking to you. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. Give me a moment here, Jet. Oh, dear.
Take two.
Uh, oh, hmm.
Just caught the end of that, but it seems like it was a powerful
It
exchange.
was. It was good. Yeah. Yeah. It's impossible to describe the different. I suppose you'd call them emotions that at a surface level, at least they're emotions. The different feelings, talking with different people, and what comes up as a result of it. If you were here before, I was talking to Maya, I was talking to somebody else, and there was intense sadness and some quite painful experiences that happened, you know, and then after that, talking to Maya, such great joy and wonderful feelings, just all within half an hour of each other. Yeah, yeah,
Roller coaster.
yeah. So how about you? How's things happening for you?
Um, well, as I was, planning to come and thinking about how it's been, what I might tell you, um, I was thinking, oh, it's been pretty level, not a lot going on, but it's been a bit more subtle, but it's been, I think there's been a bit of the probably on the side of disappointment, frustration, why are things not progressing, that kind of stuff. Um, uh, but nothing too intense. So I've kind of been like, oh well, this is
Yeah,
it's pretty okay. The only kind of intense bit I've had I can think of is I was on a work trip at the weekend, and at one point I went for some food on my own in the evening, and it was like this kind of open area with lots of people, and I was on my own waiting for my food, and and I had a lot of feelings about, I don't know, I think it was about, oh, I'm on my own, and that feels kind of weird, and what what are people thinking about me, or how can I look more comfortable and more confident, and why am I feeling this stuff? And then, going into, well, it doesn't matter why, let's just let this stuff flow through and just be here. And I guess on reflection, noticing how hard that can be sometimes to really fully, completely let go of any agenda, or desire to. And I guess because I've got techniques as well, the thoughts will pop in, well, you could do this technique, there might be an opportunity to try this. So that's still a thing that happens for me. The kind of feelings, I suppose, that are attached to that not knowing, uncertainty, having to having
yeah,
to
yeah,
make a
yeah.
decision or watch a decision, so that's a thing. And in a way, I'm I'm just like up for another go at that. Like, oh, come on, then let's have that again then and see how it unfolds the next time. Is it an opportunity to really commit to just being with whatever's arising? And
Right, yeah. So you don't see that as progress? Here you are
um,
looking forward to shit turning up. Isn't that different to the way it used to be?
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
When you said earlier about, oh, I'm not making progress, my thoughts came and said, I wonder how you're measuring progress. Are you measuring progress in big steps and therefore ignoring the little steps that turn up?
Yeah, probably.
And of course, is progress even a thing? It is only when we get into the comparison story now from the past. How is now things now? How do they used to be? And then you think, well, what is the point of that? Oh, okay. Oh, it makes me feel better if I think I'm getting somewhere. That's in the now, feeling better now. But if I forget all of that and just get into what am I feeling right now, you know what? I feel okay right now. I don't need that story in order to feel this right now. I'm okay anyway.
Yeah.
It's the old stories, isn't it? That we've been brought up to compare ourselves to everybody and anything and always on the go, that comparison thing, yeah? I mean, when you say, I realise that I'm wondering how other people see me sitting here alone, without realising it, there's a comparison story there. How would they relate to if I was sitting with somebody? How would they relate to somebody else who was appearing a lot more confident, being there
Yeah,
by
no, I can
themselves,
see.
etc. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see that it's all story that makes that difficult. There's nothing actually
yeah,
difficult or wrong about being sat there on
yeah,
my
yeah,
own.
yeah. And you know what? There's nothing wrong about those stories turning up either. And it's even especially good if you recognise that they're just stories that have turned up. And stories will continue. Right, I mentioned this analogy to Maya, but I'll mention it again to you. You go to a magician show and watch him saw a woman in half, right? And you realise you don't know how he does it. You know he's not really doing it. You know it's an illusion, right? And you go back to that show every day for a week, looking to work out how he does it, and you can't do it. Right? So then you start going back the second week, and by about the third day of the second week, you go, what am I doing? What a waste of time this is. I'm bored with this. I'm not even watching him do it. I've seen it so many times. I'm not even taking any notice of what's going on. I'm more interested in what's going on with my phone or the person sitting next to me or something else. I'm just bored. Right? Well, it's the same with these stories. You just get totally bored with these stories after a while because you know that they're just stories. They don't really mean anything, but they still happen.
That
Okay,
makes
so
sense.
when you're bored with them, you can kind of just nudge them over into the background, let them do their own thing, and just not engage with them. There's much more interesting stuff to engage with, and that's what's going on now.
Uh,
And if those stories happen to be part of it, then that's what you're engaged with, but not the content of the story, just the fact that they're there.
how I'm experiencing them, I suppose. You mean just as a kind of direct experience of whatever that
Yes.
goes in my body or something?
Yeah. So you're
Yeah.
also very close to this point where you can see that this thing about waking up is a load of bullshit. There is no such place as waking up or being awake. It's just that you thought there was, and you got on this path that took you into a few realizations that brought you to much closer to what is actual. That's all that's happened. A shift in perspective, different realizations, and all of a sudden you're here. Now that's never going to stop. There will always be more that will show itself, but it'll get more and more subtle. You'll get to the point where you won't be able to describe it. And you're getting very, very close to that point where you can see, you can just go, you know, no matter what I say, I know. Eventually you'll get to the place where you'll say, no matter what I say, I don't know. And you feel fine about that.
Mhm. Mm.
That was a bit of a subtle one. Did you get that switch from knowing that it's story to realizing you don't know something at a deeper level? You know nothing at a deeper level because it's all just interpretation.
Mhm. Yeah. And yet I guess we have a go at describing it, and
Yeah. And it's just a go at describing it. It's not close to accurate, but it's as good as you can get. Yeah. And you go from, well, there might be some value in describing it to, well, I couldn't be bothered.
the other thing that's been interesting is I had a look at Angelo Di Lullo's stuff. I've heard people mention him, so I had a look at that. And yeah, it's been interesting because from what I can tell, he recommends meditation, and do you know much about his
Oh,
approach?
not a lot. I know a bit about him though. I hear about him a lot. Mm.
Okay. So, and that's his story is that he had the initial realization through meditation, and
Mm. Which would be obviously why he recommends meditation.
exactly, yeah.
Mm.
So um, that's been interesting for me because I do feel drawn to meditation,
All right.
and depending on who you listen to, some people will say, "Yeah, go for it." Other people say, "Well, you might do, but it's probably not going to help you very much." And,
What about you get to the point where it doesn't matter what other people say?
well, that's
You
it,
you
isn't it?
start
That's
to trust your own intuition,
yeah,
and if you feel drawn to it, you do it. And
yeah,
if it gives you something, or that's not quite right, is it? We're at a more subtle level than to say about if it gives you something, but if it continues to resonate with you, might be a better way to put it, then you continue to do it. Or, you might find something I've found in the past is that I'll have fits and starts. I'll have a point where I go, oh, yeah, yeah, I'll do that. And you do that for a while, and then all of a sudden you realize you haven't done it for a while. I bought a Muse headband, and this is a headband that it gives you feedback on what your brain waves are doing. So the idea was that this was going to help me quiet my brain waves. Right? So I did that, and I bought it second hand, and I think it cost me, I don't know, $150, Australian to buy it. And I used it every day for 3 months. And I saw it on my bedside table last night and realised, you know what? I haven't used it for about 6 weeks now. Just didn't, it stops and starts these things. I mean, that's just me. You could describe it as, oh, well, I'm lazy or whatever. I didn't get out of it what I thought I was going to get out of it. Who knows? It just happens and doesn't happen. That's just the
yeah,
way it is. And I think that's the reality with most things. We'll have more intense and less intense moments, and maybe we'll stop doing it, or maybe we won't. Maybe we'll stop doing it for a while and then go back to it. I still
yeah,
feel really good things about yoga, yet I haven't done yoga for over a year now. Right? And in a long time there, I was blaming my hand. I couldn't bear my body weight. I still can't bear, even though I've got this artificial wrist, I can't take my body weight on my hands. So, but obviously there's a whole lot of yoga poses I could do without taking the body weight on my hand, yet that was the excuse not to do yoga. So, these things happen. They come and they go.
Yeah.
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 So if you do meditation, now meditation is a really interesting one because there's a million different variations of meditation. What is meditation? Are we doing the same thing if we're watching our breath, or if we're reciting a mantra, or if we're just watching thoughts, or if this is a joke, this one, if we're doing nothing? What is the similarity between different variations of meditation? What are they? Are they about mindfulness? Are we about training the mind to do or not to do something? What is it? Is it changing our physiology, giving us are we getting, I don't know, are we getting good feel good hormones in our body by doing it? I really enjoy the sitting. I enjoy the straight back, and I enjoy the cross-legged pose. I used to be able to do a full, whatever you call it, lotus position.
Lotus.
Yeah. I probably couldn't these days, but once upon a time I could, but I enjoyed being able to do it. But it wasn't me, it was just my physiology that allowed me to do it when others had trouble doing it. But I enjoyed it, it made me feel good. Hi, Lou. So, yeah, so what is there about that? So this is, again, stuff that you can just be aware of, is what is it that makes it feel good for you?
Yeah. 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 It's almost like sometimes I think whatever you do, it doesn't really matter too much. It's just a path that brings up stuff for you, and
Yeah,
and and as long
yeah.
well, and there's usefulness in that whatever it is.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that's not so obvious, I mean, you go looking in your body for what it is you're experiencing, and you can miss out on something like an external view of yourself, whether it be the way others would see you or the way you see yourself as a result. So how do you see yourself when you're sitting there meditating?
Yeah.
Do you give yourself approval by appearing to be a spiritual person, or whatever it is, or is that totally irrelevant, and well, I'd like to think it's totally irrelevant, but it's not, or
Yeah.
what, or whatever, you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
all to do with discovery,
Yeah.
curiosity and discovery.
Yeah. What I kind of the question I've got at the minute is, oh well, if I start, I just haven't kind of. It's just kind of recent thought. If I come to Vince videos, Vince groups, then I'm probably going to end up leaning more towards, what you recommend. And if I go to Angelo, watch more of Angelo, I'll probably lean more towards him, his recommendations. Um, and I guess that's just another case of whatever resonates, isn't it, really?
Yeah, yeah. I don't imagine, and not as much as I don't know a lot about Angelo, I feel good about him, and I don't imagine that in where there's any contradiction between us, but maybe a different emphasis for sure. What I would like to say to you is, I want to imagine that I don't have a particular point of view,
Mhm.
but of course that's me imagining stuff about me. So I'm the worst person to make that judgment. Yeah. I want to just hold up a mirror for you.
Mhm. Yeah, there's some. I mean, I've only watched a couple of videos, and just hearing him say, and he said this in each of them, stuff like, well, he's talked quite a bit about meditation, quietening the mind, just waiting, just being still until your mind calms down, settles down, and then I think he even said it's pretty inevitable that you're going to start to notice more clearly the truth about what is a thought and, you know, what your identity is, what you are. And there's
Aren't you
something
doing that
about that.
already?
Sorry, do I find
Aren't
that
you doing
already?
that already? Yeah.
Pretty much, but I can easily I can easily not meditate and do something else instead. Whether it be yoga, which again, you know, obviously, as we've said, there's loads of different ways of doing yoga, different emphases, or I might just go for a walk and, you know, there's the other things I can do, but I can't, there's part of me that like kind of wants to commit and just do a regular meditation every morning, you know. There's something about that that I'm really drawn
Yeah,
to.
yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You want to feel worthy of something.
I, I don't think it's the worthiness. I think it's the idea that there's something I can do that's going to really help,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
But listen, when you go for a walk, aren't you meditating? Aren't you doing yoga? Aren't you
Of course,
being mindful?
there's loads of overlapping between those three things,
Yes,
of
yeah,
course.
of course. Yeah,
But there's something, I think, there's something about just sitting still that is potentially, at times, more calming of the thoughts, I think.
yeah, yeah. What I would say to you is the most calming that you can bring. It's wrong to say it like this, but anyway, that the most calming effect you can have on thoughts is to unhook the belief that they have any validity.
Uh-huh.
They are no different than the breeze touching your cheek when you go for a walk. They have no more meaning than that.
No, I think I agree, completely agree. I don't, and you know, so you can have that realization, that attitude in any of those three things. But I think
But
there's just something about being outside, there's just a bit more stimulation for the mind. You know, if your senses are being getting stuff in, it provokes stuff. I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas if you're just sitting still with nothing, it just your kind of mind just starts to. I think mine starts to. I think I start to be able to notice what's going on in my mind a bit more subtly.
Mm,
And if you know if that's what I want to do, I think
yep, yep. So what
meditation.
stops you from doing that?
Well, because I get a lot of benefit from yoga as well. I get the physical benefits as well, and so ideally I would do both, but I don't often have time for both, and so it seems like an intent, an intention kind of comes in and out. Oh well, I'll prioritize one or the other, you know, that
Mm,
kind of thing.
mm,
And I think probably holding it all like, you know, notice where I'm getting a bit tight around my decision or my intention or what's actually happening is an area for discovery, I suppose.
yeah, that's a big one. That's a really big one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The old time thing is really interesting. You know, I don't have time for something. I use that myself, or I have used that for myself. But lately, well, lately, I suppose over the last 12 months or so now, and I'm only picking that as a, I don't know how accurate that is, but there's been a change in, oh, that's a bit of a story. I don't have time. The reality is what are priorities?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's not my highest priority. And then that actually is quite productive, because then we go, oh, what is my highest priority and what's behind that?
Right.
That's a good one.
Mm.
And the reality is, I mean, at a logical level, it's totally different to at a realistic level in life. But the logical level is, well, I could do 10 minutes of yoga and 10 minutes of meditation and half an hour of walking, and I could still fit everything in the day, you know. But that's not what happens.
It's not what happens, is it? No. And getting up is one for me. Like I'm pretty habitually. I'll wait till my body is awake enough to get out of bed without any effort, basically.
Mm.
And I have a story of that's important because history of fatigue and all this.
Yeah,
But I've
yeah, yeah.
noticed that. But I've noticed that when the Wednesday for me Wednesday morning when your meeting's on, I'm up at 7 pretty. I don't
Yeah,
get here at 7, but I'm up
there's
and
a
doing my
reason.
thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
good reason. I just like when there's a good reason, I'm just like I'm not even going there with all those other
Mm.
concerns and ideas.
Yeah, I have the same. Yeah, for my Monday morning, I'm uh, I'm awake at 6:30 for a 7 a.m. meeting, and the same on my Friday morning. But on the mornings I don't have a meeting, I'll stay in bed until 8:30, 9 o'clock, you know, and wait until I'm quite happy to get out of bed before I get out of bed. It's luxurious. Oh, it's so wonderfully luxurious to be able to do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't feel at all guilty about that.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. In harmony with our body is as close as we can get to in harmony with the universe, in harmony with what is.
Mhm.
You know, it's our most accurate barometer is our body.
Yeah, good one. Yeah, makes sense.
Even whilst recognizing, and this is partly what we're doing here, is recognizing how our body will react to the stories that we believe.
Yeah, right. And when you said to somebody about, I think you might have said to me, tiredness, how we experience tiredness, only 20% of that is physiological or something. And I had a bit of a look into that, and yeah, I mean, it seems to be quite true that our body will kind of produce the experience of tiredness, or our body mind will produce the experience of tiredness if there's some belief that that's going to be useful or helpful in that moment.
Mm, mm,
So, yeah, like you say, with so many stories running the show, how it's not easy to know what is really it really means to be in harmony with our body at any one moment.
mm. It's crazy on that one, isn't it? Yeah, but it's a good one. Yeah. I mean, I'll find myself dozing in the lounge chair while there's something on TV that I'm not interested in, and I'll start to doze off, and my wife will say, "Why don't you go to bed?" And I'll go, "But I'm awake. I don't need to." And I'll be wide awake from that moment on for at least 10 minutes, and then I might doze again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and maybe it's like your body being efficient. Oh, this isn't interesting. I don't need to be awake here or something.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Mm, yeah, it's all extremely interesting, and that I suspect is is one of the most interesting things. How interesting it is that we can discover by being not in a place of knowing, but in a place of wondering, in a place of discovery. We can find out all sorts of things that we can't the moment we think we know anything.
Right.
And it's crazy. I've said this for years. I've said, you know what? I don't even know myself. So how could anybody else possibly know anything about me? And it's kind of like it's a bit of a brush off. It's a superficial thing, but it's true. I really have no idea what goes on here or why it goes on. It's just all I have is some weird interpretation of it that I call being Vince, whatever that is. Even that sounds weird when I say it.
Yeah. What continues to be interesting, but perhaps useful for me is when I notice I've got some emotion, whether it's an intense one, something that's perhaps disturbing me on some level. It's very quickly that some other, what I call control pattern, like a response to that emotion, like usually a kind of attempt to suppress it, comes in, and then um, being with that level of what's going on, the second layer, as I say, what usually seems to be a suppression or a rejection. It seems like that's quite often a portal to direct experience.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good one. Mm. It's almost like not an alarm bell, but let's say a notification sign comes on that says, "Here's an opportunity."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a good one. I used to say it a lot. I haven't for a while now, but any unpleasant, even slightly unpleasant experience is that. It is a notification that here's a portal, here's a possibility, an opportunity, a crack in the doorway.
Yeah.
And the big thing is that, and it really is a huge thing, and that is that there's a story that a fundamental baseline, if you like, for a human being is to feel good, to feel okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Right.
like any discomfort that turns up is an indication that something's not right. Yet, what we do when we go through this stuff is we become more okay about
Yeah.
the full range of human emotions, which includes everything from deep shit through to absolute bliss or
Yeah.
whatever. You put at the extremes.
But there's a kind of, is it called homeostasis? So the body's always trying to come back to like a balance
Yeah,
or something.
yeah, I think so. Yeah. And it does that with weight, it does that with everything, and it uses habit to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So you might even go as further than to say the body, it's the brain that controls the body. So it's the brain that looks for that homeostasis.
Yeah.
and it does that in a weird way. And if you, I've been reading a few neurobiological papers and so on, and it seems to be that the motive, which is a meaning that's applied to it, not an actual thing, but the motive seems to be an efficient use of energy. Right? So the amazing thing is that this brain of ours runs on 20 watts of power, and yet if we were to build a computer to do the same brain thing as what our brain can do, we would use many gigawatts of power. We just simply can't get even close to the way the brain works in terms of power usage. Just think of the power banks that are being used for AI at the moment, and compare that to a 20-watt brain that does 1,000 times more than AI can do. Yeah. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, I heard recently that the way data center use is proliferating, by the end of the decade, the whole world won't be able to produce enough electricity just to support the data centers.
Yeah.
Oh, I think somebody's coming in, Vince. I'm going to turn my video off for a minute.
Okay.
Hi, Vince. I'll put my video on in a minute. I'm just getting my son to school and then I'll be back on if you're still here.
Yep, no worries. Hi, Tabby.
Hey, Vince.
How have you been?
Um, I've been okay. It's been a bit crazy around here, so I haven't investigated quite as much. My system was not open to it. But I guess I'm back and wanting to explore. Yeah, there's a lot of noise here and a lot of stressful situations. Yeah, and I guess I'm not sure how to proceed with the exploration. As well, I woke up today and I was thinking something that you said another time about I think it was you that said something about enjoying the drama or something.
Right.
And I was like, maybe the past few days have been very, very dramatic. And I was like, oh, maybe there's a part of me that enjoys that, story and wants to get into it and enjoys the whatever it is, the excitement of it all.
Sure.
Even though it's stressful, there's also an excitement of being drawn into stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So maybe it's not enjoyment that is the key, although you use that word, so it's a good chance it is. But maybe it's just that it is I don't know how to put it, attractive to you. It is, it achieves something, or it is of value, some kind of value. May not be quite as limited as just enjoyment. Maybe even be
Yeah.
productive, to feel alive. Yeah.
Yeah. It like sucks you in, and it definitely, there's an alivement, an excitement, and a live feeling, and it's like an experience. It's a strong,
Yep.
yeah, it's a strong, powerful thing. And maybe there's a sense of like wanting to, if I think back throughout my life, like maybe there's a sense of wanting to go deeply into something, and like maybe there is the answer. You know what I mean? Like deeply,
Yep.
deeply
Yep.
into some experience. And so, and I guess it is the same thing, just that we go into the experience of self or no self or God or whatever it is. In other words, maybe it's just
Yeah.
jumping into the wrong thing, maybe, or
Yep.
maybe jumping anything into anything deeply could get us there. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's an interesting one, and certainly something that it is a thing. But I don't know quite what that thing is, but um, some people, not everybody, but some people experience a period of grieving as they wake up, and it's about leaving that behind, where that isn't as prominent as it used to be, that sense of excitement. Um, but the excitement becomes something different. It's a different kind of excitement. But because of the familiarity of that, it's not uncommon for people to feel a sense of grief over losing that, a sense of mourning that might take place over losing that. Just so, why do I mention that for you? I don't know. it
No, I really feel that. And I think like even though I haven't passed the gate or whatever you guys call it, I feel like my entire life I've always been looking from the outside. Like I'm always observing since I'm little. I'm never like fully engaged. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm fully engaged, but I'm always part of me, even like in extreme overwhelm or stress or happiness, whatever it is, part of me is always watching it from the outside.
right,
And
yeah,
um,
that's good stuff. Yeah, yeah, that's what made you a weirdo from the beginning. I love it.
yeah, so I don't know if that's like part of it, but part of me has always seen it as been like, what is this experience? What is going on? So I'm half really in it and half watching it. And I've just
Yep.
always been that way. And there is a sense of like unreality. Like I was saying, when I was in very, very panicked states and all kinds of things that I've been through, I'm like, on the one hand, I feel all these thoughts are so important and I have to discuss them and get into it. And on the other hand, it is absolutely no meaning. And
Mm.
so I've felt that dichotomy. And I guess there has been a sense of, oh no, like even though I haven't, I've just been attending some of these kinds of talks and stuff, and like feeling into the experience a little bit, I have been feeling, oh no, like I'm going to leave Tammy behind. I'm not going to feel that I'm her or care about her, or like I'm going to leave the world. I'm going to leave my people. I'm going to leave my family. Like I'm not going to feel as invested. I don't know. There's a sense of sadness of like, oh, I won't be able to like think this way or feel this way anymore. I don't know. So I guess it's like this morning I woke up and like, maybe I don't need it. In other words, like maybe it's just like some weird detachment thought loop I'll get stuck in of like this perspective of
Yeah.
existence of like it's
Yeah.
not really me, and I'll just get stuck there, and it'll be like less aliveness, and like everyone else sees it differently, and I'll alone be stuck with this perspective of whatever. Um, and now it's that way anyway, kind of. In other words, I'm very alone in my perspectives.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
in other words, who thinks about like, where did thoughts come from, and where does my people like, well, you have to really want it. I'm like, but did I decide that? Like I wake up and I either want it or not. Like, and people are like, okay, that's too deep for me, or stuff like that. Like all the stuff that I generally think of, like, desire and thoughts, like where do they come from? Anyway, my general perspective is so different anyway, but still, it is still closer as a
Mm.
person than it would be as a non-entity. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess,
Oh well, let me assure you that you will never be a total non-entity. You will always be Tammy. You will always have Tammy's personality, but hopefully you will shed a whole lot of Tammy's suffering.
mm-hmm.
Right. So yes, although you know, like you hit the nail on the head there. You will imagine that most of the world operates from a different perspective than you, but as you say, you already do that. You already see that. That's the way it is. So can you be more separate? Well, no, not really. But separation is, see, this is a really interesting one. At some level you'll start to feel quite separate. Then you'll go through a stage and you'll come back to realizing that everybody else is you. That even in the beginning, it'll be that you'll see that what you think of anybody else has been filtered by your own experience, your own history. And so consequently, what you see in others is really what you see in yourself, what you know of in yourself. And then you'll recognize that everybody else is seeing you through the filter of their own history. So consequently, that there'll be that immediately there'll be that sense of separation between you and them. But then that
Yeah.
will merge, and you'll start to see that, in fact, there is no difference between you and them and you. That they're the same thing. But that's jumping ahead. So don't get too involved in that. But just recognise that this feeling of separation is a temporary stage that you'll go through, and that you've been living with that for most of your life anyway.
Yeah, and just lately more realizing how like a little bit of what you said, I think of like we all see things just how our own internal experience and filter and brain understanding is. And so we don't really, never the twain shall meet. In other words, we can never actually, or the other day, two people, we were laughing at a joke. And then I said, wait, what were you laughing at? And it's like the same sentence, but like a completely
Yes.
different meaning. And this
Perfect. Yeah.
happens all the time. And so it's like, oh my gosh, there's no real connection anywhere. And there's no real understanding. We're all just living inside our own, brain
Yep.
images or whatever it is. But
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. So there's an old story that I tell people that says, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there, does it make a sound? What are your thoughts about that?
of course it does.
Well, no, it doesn't. So that's a rhetorical question, of course, but no, it
Oh,
doesn't, because what it does is the tree vibrates the air. So there's a vibration traveling through
mm-hmm.
the air, right? It
Yeah.
takes a person's ear to collect those vibrations and turn them
Mm,
into a nerve signal, which gets sent up to the brain, and the brain is what experiences the sound.
mm-hmm.
Right? Now, get that. The brain transmutes the air vibrations into a sound, just as the eyes transmute a visible frequency into images that get happened in the brain, just as all of your sense inputs are raw data that only when they get sent to the brain do they make sense, do they turn into something we see, something we hear, something we feel, etc. It all happens in your brain. And when you think about that, you recognize that everything that you see or experience in the world happens in your brain. So every single person in the world has a unique experience of the world. In other words, everybody lives in their own world.
Yeah. In other words, you're saying the vibrations of the air when the tree falls are actuality, and then every person perceives them as a different internal experience.
Absolutely. You got it in one. Beautiful. Yep. And that's so for all of the senses, and it's so for everything that we think of as other than us. Everything other than us is our brain's interpretation, and that's conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what our history teaches us that those things are.
So is our life's goal to change the conditioning to see things more positively, like a spiritual or happy being would see them?
Well, that's a good one. Um, it could be your life goal. Well, as a seeker, it certainly would be your life goal. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it is just the way it is, and what you see and how you interpret it is what gives you what you experience, and it's how you relate to that experience that is what is actual in your life. So if you're happy or unhappy or calm or agitated or whatever you are, that is the interpretation you've got of what's going on around you.
So then the whole thing should be to change how my brain sees it and like dissolve the conditioning or whatever.
Well, that at a distance, that's a good way to put it. But when we get closer to it, right, we look
Mm-hmm.
at how do we do that, and that first step, that first really big step, is to accept that what our interpretation is what our interpretation is, and
Mm-hmm.
not to fight it, not to want it to be different. And by
Mm-hmm.
doing that, we start to get closer to what is as actual as we can touch. Words don't work properly, but yeah. So we're never going to get to what we say, oh, well, that's an objective truth. We're always going to have what is a subjective truth. That is, what is truth to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Yeah, like when
can't.
you said, sorry, go on.
No, you go.
Like when you said Tammy's personality is not going to change and stuff, I was a little disappointed when you said that. Um, like it's scary to think of like that you won't be yourself, but then when you said, "Oh, you won't change," it was like disappointing. It was like, wait, I would like to be very
Yeah,
different
yeah,
and
yeah.
different conditioning and different responses and not be so jumpy and not be so negative.
Oh, yeah, no, all of that'll happen. When I said personality, well, you'll still be the same personality. Of course, if we look at that in detail, then what we recognise is that there's some kind of fundamental, some elementary, basic level of you that will continue throughout everything, because that is what you have learned to be, right?
Mhm.
But yes, at the level that you're talking about now, there'll be lots of changes within that. They won't be so obvious to the outside world, but they'll be very, very obvious to you looking at your internal world.
Mhm. Well, that sounds good. Yeah, so I guess I'm feeling a little bit of fear of like whatever, and also excitement because I'm on this whole thing in order to end the suffering. So,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
need more
Well,
explanation.
also, when you say that, I immediately think to recognize, to tell you that that's a good intention, but
Mm-hmm.
now disengage from it, put it in the background, and forget about it. Right. So that to end the suffering is a side benefit, not a main goal. The side benefit is something that will happen as a result of you getting in touch with what is actual for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you make the main goal to end your suffering, well, you're in trouble. You're not going to get there, because when you make the main goal to end your suffering, guess what? You reinforce the suffering. You make it stronger. So the suffering will go as a side benefit to getting in touch with what is actual.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so even though my goal, I guess my motivation for doing this is that I'm not at peace and I want to be more at peace for myself and for the people around me, because I hate feeling like I'm a source of like stress or existential fear. And especially, you know, I take care of my younger nephew and I help raise like my siblings, so I'm always like in that kind of a big sister role or aunt role, and I feel a huge responsibility towards that. So that's a huge motivator for me. Like, besides my own suffering, it's also that I want to be a source of peace for those around me as well. So I don't know if those are good motivations or not, but you're saying those are fine, but I should just put them aside and now get to like, okay, so what is the truth of being? Because that is the thing that will lead to that.
Yeah, that's pretty well put it. So you don't have responsibility for anybody, even yourself, because you don't have control. You don't, it appears like you make choices, but in
Mm-hmm.
fact, that appearance is a reality that's laid on top of what actually happens, which is choices get made, but not by you. You just get party to them after they've been made. Your brain makes choices based on existing conditions and past history. And then after it makes a decision, it notifies you in the form of a thought that a choice or a decision has been made. And it's only that you believe, you've been conditioned to believe that you made that choice, but it seems like that. It's an illusion. So same with motivation. You can think motivation can be the cause of things to happen, but it doesn't. Motivation turns up because motivation turns up, and things happen because things happen. So no, there's not really a connection between the two, but we've been conditioned to believe there is.
So you think that the thought that, oh, I'm here because of the motivation, because of suffering, or because of peace, you're saying that's just a thought, and I'm just here because I'm here, because I'm here, because I'm here.
Exactly. Yes. Well put. I like that. Yeah. So conditions led you here, and those conditions,
Mhm.
this is a big one. This is a really big one. And I repeat this again and again because it's really important, and I don't mind repeating it. And that is that those conditions that led you here are everything that has ever happened anywhere, everywhere since the beginning of existence, or if that's a thing, right? Every single thing that's ever happened has been a condition that was necessary for things to be the way they are now for you, right now, this instant. Can
Mhm.
you grok the gravity of that, the hugeness of that?
I guess I'm still stuck on the thought that, like, what about the presence that is here witnessing this and talking to you? Doesn't that presence get to like override the conditioning? Like, aren't we called to rise above conditioning? And that's like our life's work. Isn't that how we improve or things happen? Or
Yeah. But you're confusing conditioning with conditions, right? So you might say that conditions produce conditioning. That would be accurate. But conditions are, we're kind of playing at a story level here, but conditions are things that have already happened. They're done and dusted.
Mhm.
They're in the past, right? And those conditions, so for example, one of the conditions that you're here that is necessary is that you've got some device that you've logged onto Zoom with, right?
Yeah.
So it's obvious that the first condition is that there has to be Zoom. The second condition is you have to have that device. Another condition is that there has to be internet. Another condition is that you have to be able to respond to that. You have to interact with that device. So you have to have, in this case, ears, and you probably have to have fingers, and you so on and so on. And if we go back further, the conditions are that you have to be here. That means that you have to have been born, right? And then, of course, for you to have been born, your parents had to be born. And for them to be born, your some caveman had to be born way back when. So before all of that, you can go back to the beginning of time, and everything that ever happened became one of the conditions that made this possible. So that's just a good story. It's just a story. It's just a way of looking at things, but it's a story that involves everything. There is not a single thing that doesn't interact with other things that led to this being possible now as it is. Can you
Right. And
get that? Yeah. That's huge,
I
isn't it?
do, because it's pretty wild. Like, I'm here across the world from you and we're both talking, which is like just wild.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
But
absolutely.
I guess to you that shows like choicelessness. To me, I'm like, but maybe consciousness and choice plays a part in all of the conditions. You know what I mean? In influencing what happens.
Well, they do. They do. If they exist, they are one of the conditions or some of the conditions
Mhm,
involved.
mhm,
Right?
mhm.
But by themselves, they're not a cause because they rely on all other conditions to make them possible. So there's nothing that exists in isolation that
Mhm,
we can say is the cause of. It takes everything
mhm,
for this to happen. So
mhm.
cause and effect is a really simplistic notion. The idea that one or just a few things can cause something else to happen ignores all of the other things that are involved. And when you
Right.
think, if it takes the condition of you having a computer to have this meeting, then all of the conditions involved in making that computer possible are also there, are also important. So in the end, it depends on, what kind of computer you've got, what part of the world it was made in, and whether all the people that made it and all the elements involved in it were all absolutely, every single one of those was a necessary condition of you being here doing this.
So is this you talking about the sense of responsibility or the fact that we have no choice? What was this to illustrate?
Oh, they're both involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
So, so the idea that, well, responsibility and choice at a fairly high level, if you like, require, if for them to be actual, requires a fundamental belief that there's somebody that's doing that. And when you examine that somebody, you realize that that somebody is in fact, that Tammy is in fact just a whole lot of conditions that have come together. So in other words, Tammy herself is just a story or a bunch of stories. In fact, a million stories. How big she is, how tall she is, what color eyes she's got, what food she likes. All of that are stories that relate to this organism that we call Tammy. So without that, if you recognize that they're all illusions, you also recognize that choice and decisions and responsibility are also illusions.
So, in other words, the story that, oh, I've been observing from the outside my whole life, and that's influenced my decisions, and I've been more responsible or more caretakery or more considerate because of that. Those are all just part of the stories that make up this one.
Yes, yes, but there's a bit more to it than that. So that's again a simplistic notion to say that, because involved with that have been all sorts of responses to those stories, those feelings. So when you can feel what it likes to feel responsible or irresponsible, you can feel those aspects of Tammy making a decision and feeling satisfaction when a decision works out, or dissatisfaction when it doesn't. Right? So those feelings are also involved. So it's not pure story, it's story and their responses. So that illusion of a self is also very, very much related. It's not just the stories about Tammy that make up the self, or the sense of self, to be more accurate. It's the response to those stories, right? So Tammy likes chocolate, right? That's a story, but that taste in your mouth or that feeling in your wherever when you eat chocolate, that's a response to the story, and that's what gives rise to this sense of a self that you might experience as Tammy.
The sensations and thoughts and reactions. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The combination of all of that. So it's way, way more complex than we can just put into simple words and so on. But at the root of a lot of that are stories. Right. So at this end of the game that you're at now, this seeking game, I would say to you, don't believe any of your thoughts. None of them. Not a single thought is worth investing any credibility into at this moment. Later on, we'll change that, but right for the moment, your thoughts are doing a job that is not helpful, and that is that they're keeping you away from feeling any unpleasantness that wants to be felt.
And we want me to experience unpleasantness?
We want you not to avoid it. So if that results in you feeling it, then so be it. But at the same time, we'll recognize that that unpleasantness is not something to be avoided, but rather that is a doorway or a portal into something a bit more fundamental that might be shaping your experience. So we don't want to stop you feeling those things. Rather, we want to remove the reasons why you feel them.
Okay, so wait, let me ask you a couple of questions about that. So when you
Yep.
say don't believe my thoughts, a lot of my thoughts are about decisions. What should I do right now? Should I stay or go out? Should I risk X or Y? Should I take on a new client from my family? All these things involve a lot of thinking. So should
Yes.
I just try not to think about those things and just try to make decisions without too much thought? Is that one of it, or?
Okay. That's okay. So all right. So to start with you, there's value in you recognizing that your thoughts are only a notification that you get, that your brain has already made a decision about things before you get notified of what that decision is. And so that's one thing to just consider as a possibility at this stage. It is the way it works. The second thing that comes to mind is that if you trust your intuition, right, ask your gut, and these are just again stories or metaphors that we use. Ask your intuition, what is it that feels right for you? That is a much better way to arrive at a decision, or to seemingly arrive at a decision, than to consider the pros and cons. You will consider the pros and cons, that will happen, but rather than give it top priority, give your gut feeling top priority. And so what I'm saying to you is, your mind will frequently lie to you because it wants to keep you away from unpleasant feelings, right? So it has good intention, but its sole job is at any cost to keep you away from feeling anything unpleasant. And so you'll come up with stories, you'll have all sorts of fantasies and you'll decide to do things in order to avoid those unpleasant feelings. And so ask your gut, what is the right thing to do? And you'll discover that's your brain will have transmitted a decision to your gut, right, that your mind might not agree with. And if that happens, if you recognize that there's a conflict between your mind and your gut, go with your gut every time. Now, of course, there are consequences. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. These are just meanings we overlay on things. But consequently, there is a reality, and consequences are the reality. So they need to be taken into account. And you will probably use your mind to weigh up consequences. But again, you've got to be careful, because that'll lead you somewhere away from what you feel good about. So you've got to be a bit careful there. So this is a skill you'll develop. Don't expect that you'll have it immediately 100%. It's just something that you will develop as you go.
What do you mean will lead me away from what I feel good about?
Yeah, so what you feel is right rather than good about.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, whether you take on somebody as a new client, your gut will say this will be okay, or no, you avoid this, but your head will say I need the money, so I'll go there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you
Mm-hmm.
could well be in for a rough ride as a result of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your gut's not always going to get it right because this is something that you will develop. You'll get better and better at listening to it, and it'll get clearer and clearer in what it tells you.
Yeah, right now I'm not sure what is fear and what is right and what is wrong. Like I'm not sure if I avoid things because I'm afraid or if I jump in things despite that I'm afraid and I shouldn't. So yeah,
Yeah,
decisions have been clear for me. It's always a
yeah,
panic.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. We'll recognise straight away that when that panic turns up, that you cannot possibly make a rational decision. So wait till the panic's over before you decide anything. Or if you have to decide quickly, go with your gut, not your head.
surprisingly, I'm not sure I know the difference between my gut and my
Right.
head.
Okay, that's perfectly reasonable because that's a skill to be developed.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I've often said is that your head will talk to you in big, bold, capital letters, and it will shout out at you, whereas your gut will be much more subtle. Your gut will be a whisper almost, and it will come as possibilities rather than with an exclamation mark. It will just be possibilities about things. So there's a different flavour between your gut and your head. But at the beginning, at this stage, I'm inclined to say you're going to have to be very attentive to hear what your gut says because your mind will be so loud that it will drown out everything.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of yeah, it's all an experiment. It's all a case of discovery.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, yeah,
So I think you said two things that I'll try and remember, take away. You said about making decisions and about avoiding negative emotions and going there. So about the decisions, like maybe I should keep in mind that that I'm not really the decider or something. Could that make things easier? And also to listen to my gut. So those are kind of the things to take with me to realize that the decisions are being made and maybe watch them happen rather than feel that I'm like when I
yeah,
see the spinning mind and the decision being happen, I could like maybe notice that the mind is seeming to mull over and whatever rather than
yeah,
and
yeah,
give it space or something and let it
yeah.
happen and wait till I feel a decision is made or something like this.
Yep, yep. So in the beginning, that just approach that stuff and just treat it as an experiment and see where it takes you and be very gentle with yourself. And we'll polish it. We'll keep going and we'll get better at it as we get more experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Well,
it's like okay, a classic example for you is how you feel about not turning your camera on. Right?
mm-hmm.
Is it your head telling you, or is it your gut telling you? So that's a great example of something you can consider. Just play with that, and you only have to think about that any time between now and whenever I talk with you again. You just play with that one. You consider it. What's telling me? So you might go, oh no, my head's telling me, it'll be bad, or my gut's telling me it'll be bad, and then it'll change around the other way. Just play with it and see what you say. So you're looking to get more more sensitive with what's going on.
I
Right?
think
So it's
usually what happens is, yeah, I kind of grip, like I go into like a freeze, fear state,
yes.
um, and panic and stop breathing. That's usually what happens.
Mm.
Um,
And isn't it interesting that that doesn't occur to you nearly as much when you're just talking to me without your camera as it would what you imagine it would if you turned your camera on?
absolutely.
Yeah. Really, really interesting stuff, that one, isn't it? So
Yeah.
everything is grist for the mill. Absolutely everything gives us an opportunity to look at what's going on for us and where we can go.
Yeah. And then the second thing you said was about not avoiding that the thoughts are there to avoid negative feelings, although the thoughts often put me into panic and fear and negative feelings.
Okay, so
And
that's a good one, and this is just a let's say it's a very beginning, superficial look at that. But what I would say to you is that the thoughts that put you into that negative feeling have in the back of their mind that that's better than the really, really, really bad shit that'll turn up if you don't go there. Right?
mm-hmm,
So they're saying although it's bad shit, it's nowhere near as bad as what it could be.
mm-hmm. That makes sense. And then the second thing I wanted to ask you, I guess for homework is so yeah, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of fear states, a lot of pain and tension, a lot of negative thoughts, emotions, feeling states, and they often feel so overwhelming. And I'm just, what do I do when they happen? Is that not a time to explore? Is that yes, a time to explore, especially if there's like externally objective danger or something? Um, or needing to act or needing to be alert.
Hmm.
Or is it better to explore more when there's relative external peace and quiet, or when there's actual possible danger or alert or needing to act, or when there's like, for example, I have excavation with jackhammers outside today, there's two of them, so it's like mind-blowing. um, are those not states to explore? Are they too overwhelming that the sensations and thoughts will prevent me from going in? In other words, I guess what's an ideal state in which to explore, and what does that exploration look like? Like, what should my homework be?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, good one. Um, it's going to be what you can cope with, always what you can cope with. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The ideal is when it's actually happening, right? But uh, still good is what we call take it to the lab afterwards, is to go back and remember what it felt like. And if you use that technique, then that remembering what it felt like needs to produce a little bit of the feeling that was there when you were actually experiencing it. Right? So you don't have to feel it fully, but if it feels a bit overwhelming when it's actually happening, and you take it to the lab later, you want the edge of that feeling to occur. By remembering it, you'll probably be able to get that feeling, some element of that, some aspect of that feeling will be there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can work with it. And that's probably actually a more productive way. It's not as overwhelming. Where it's actually happening, it can be too overwhelming to get anywhere with it. But the
Mm-hmm.
trick, the value for you at this stage is to learn how to get close to the physical component of that overwhelm, which is the sensation in the body. And so this is a bit of a tricky one. So in the beginning, getting in touch with that sensation is to be able to label it somewhere in the body, label the part of the body, label the what the sensation feels like, right? And then get closer and closer to that, to where it is and what it feels like. So that would be a really, really good, productive start to it. If you can do it while it's actually happening, great. If it's too overwhelming, then take it to the lab as soon as possible afterwards and see if you can bring back some of that feeling and then get close to that sensation component of it.
So I feel like I'm always feeling like right now I'm sitting here and there's two jackhammers outside, and the body is feeling the pain of it also in the ears. Also, there's tension. There's like a clenching to protect my tissues against the vibrations and noise. And so I'm always noticing that I'm in pain and discomfort. But you mean to get in touch with it as something else or deeper, or to try and dissolve those feelings?
Yeah, no, don't try and dissolve them. No,
Feel
you want them.
disappointed, can't open to the noise or open to the pain. You know what I mean? It's too strong.
Yeah, but it's the technique that I'm talking about is to change it from noise to what does it experience? What is the experience of that noise? What does it feel like? So you're saying there are vibrations. So that's a good one because jackhammers do vibrate, and if you can get in tune with the body, you'll feel the body vibrating with the jackhammers, right? And that feeling of vibration, where do you feel it? Is it in the jaw? Is it in the chest? Is it in the legs or the fingers? What part of the body do you feel it? And what does it actually feel like? Right? It's not just vibration. That's at a label level, and you want to get closer to it than a label can take you. So you want to get to what is the experience of this? And it can't be described in words when you get close enough to it. So there's a skill involved in developing that level of intimacy with the sensations that come with it, that are beyond what labels can. Labels are really gross in the way they describe it. They can only get so close to it, and they're only about halfway to it. You want to go past the label to the experience of it. What does it feel like, this experience? Is it shifting? Is it growing or shrinking? Does it have heat? Does it have intensity? You know, those kind of things, and even past those labels. And so it's a practice to get intimate with the physical component of that stuff. It's a skill
So,
you'll develop.
so even though I'm very much aware of physical sensations and emotions, you're saying it's only like a quarter way down. Like I'm only like surface level
Yes,
feeling it, and I should really more explore into it.
yes.
Let's say I'm doing that now. I'm feeling the vibrations and stuff. Then what?
Keep doing it. So,
Hmm.
so do we expect that things will change? Well, there's a good chance they will change as you get closer and closer to them. The more intimate you get with it, the more you experience the details of it and the subtlety of it and the complexity of it, the more likely it is to change. Now, will it change from being unpleasant? Probably not. But will the quality of that unpleasantness change? Yes, very likely it will. And so it's a case of developing the skill to really, really get intimate with the physical aspect of what it is you're experiencing. And so that what will happen, best wait until you experience that and see what will happen. Because it will be unique to you for starts, but it's I fully expect it will happen. Something will change.
In other words, this is like on the path of understanding. In other words, this is not separate from this is a way to understand like the shift or whatever.
Yes, yes, yeah, but
Mhm.
understanding it and once again, it's a metaphor for experiencing, right? So
Yeah.
you won't understand it at an intellectual level. You'll start to appreciate what is actual with it. That's a tricky one. Some people would describe it as experiencing the truth of it, but I don't like that particularly as a way of describing it. You'll
Hmm.
experience what is actual, not what the mind says is actual, because that's where most of your unpleasantness comes from, the meaning that the mind applies to it. So what this is a way of bypassing that and getting down to what is actual.
Hmm. And is there any length of time that the exploration should be? Are there any guidelines around it, like a few minutes here and there, a few times a day, or one long session, or how long
Every
to stick?
opportunity,
Hmm. Mm-hmm. When I go into it, it kind of feels like I'm going down into drugs or something. Like I go into an alternate state. I can't explain it. Is
Yes,
that
you will. That's right. You will happen. That will
o-
happen. And that's fine. That's good, because
okay?
in that state you will start to experience things in a completely different way. You know? And it's not like you've taken a drug, but the experience might be a bit like that.
Mm-hmm. All right, so just keep playing with that. Go deeply into experience whenever I feel I can stand it, and when it's not too overwhelming, and when it's
Yeah,
kind of reasonable and experimentally, playfully enjoyable.
yeah.
Okay.
And as you get better and better at that, you'll take it more to the overwhelmed state, and eventually you'll do it in that state as well. So it is an exploration,
Mm-hmm.
and it is about discovery. So the more curiosity that is present, the better.
Mm-hmm. All right. I guess I'm feeling like, oh no, you want me to feel all the pain? There's so much pain and fear and tension. Like, oh no,
Right.
it sounds, oh God, very daunting.
Yes, yes, of course it does. And it's at a very surface level. It's only at the surface level that you'll call it pain. Right. By the
Okay.
time you get intimate with those sensations, you won't describe it as pain. You'll describe it as something else. And then you'll not be able to describe it at all.
Mm-hmm. And any advice for the times when like I try to go in, but there's too much fear and tension and I can't seem to melt anything or shift anything.
Yep,
Should
yep.
I just give it a
So
look
my
rather than hitting a wall? Yeah.
really strong advice, if it's possible, is just put it as a possibility, and that is that you do not judge yourself or anything as a result of that. When you're unable to, you're unable to. Full stop. No need to judge it. No need to say it's bad or good or anything else. It just is what it is.
And no need to hit my head against the wall, just come back to it a different time rather than like straining
Yeah,
against it,
that's
ever
right.
trying to
Yep,
it.
yep,
Okay.
yep. But if you do hit your head against the wall, that's also just it.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it because for me, it's not a one-time thing. It's like I keep on having to come back and understand
Oh, you
and
will until you don't anymore. That's right. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. No, no, that's fine. You're on the right track. I think that's good. You've got that right level of curiosity that's going to be really, really helpful for you. So good stuff.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. And remember to ask yourself about the camera as well.
Oh goodness, that's the scariest one you've presented yet.
Okay. No, no worries.
Thank you.
Morning, Vince.
Hello.
I just want to say thank you to Tammy because it just brought up so many things that I resonated with. Honestly, it really did. And yeah, thank you, Tammy. Amazing. I want to speak because last time we spoke, I talked about this kind of thing on the right hand side that's
Mhm.
been there a long time, and I've just backed off. I've welcomed it, and I love it, and it can be here, and it says stuff sometimes, but I've just backed off. And what seems to happen is in random times. I don't even know if I've told you this. It's like I don't know what I've said and what
Yeah, it
is in
doesn't matter.
here.
It's irrelevant. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I can just be watching TV, like totally my mind's totally, and I'm really aware that it's like something's unwinding. It's like a sensation of something. And I'm tempted to go and sit quietly and go and look at it, but I don't. I just carry on watching telly and I'm aware that something's happening. And then it'll just appear, like it'll get stronger and weaker and stronger. And so it's not always the same. So I just had more curiosity about that. I have a sense of what I think it might be, but I don't want to put too much mind stuff in it. But the reason I want to speak is like have been really, something's really shifted in confidence, in like, the mind just says, well, I don't give a shit anymore. That's that one.
Beautiful. Yeah.
But that's one level. That is one level, actually. But it's much deeper than that in terms of, like, I really resonate with what Tammy talks about. I remember just a few months ago feeling so self-conscious on here, and I remember thinking, I don't want this personality. I want everything to change. I want everything to change. But what's happened is a lot of the reactivity has gone, not like 100%, but a lot of it is gone. And a lot of it's the internal reactivity. But at the same time, is like, I'm really starting to enjoy watching the personality, like just watch what Louise does, what she says, what she thinks, what she wants to do, what she thinks she wants to do. And actually, it's I like it. I like the personality, because before it was comparing with others. Like, there's much more relaxation of just letting this. I'm not loud and chatty, and I tried to be like that for years, especially with alcohol. But actually, I'm much more at peace with. If I want to talk, I can talk. If I don't, I don't. And it's just that at peace with myself. And it might sound really small, but for me, it's huge. It's absolutely. It's a level of freedom that I. It's like been bound by that since a teenager. I've been that self-conscious, don't want to step outside, want to be like that, want to be like this. But actually, there's something really beautiful in
Not giving a shit.
Not giving a shit, and just be. If you get it wrong, that's fine too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And something happened the other day, and there's also this sense of really wanting to step into uncomfortable situations, like just have a little play. And that's really strange. And it can be anything from, like, going in the sea because it's too cold. I'm like, well, okay, well, what if it is too cold? And I started walking back, and I thought, no, just go in and just feel the cold. And then I was at a meeting, a recovery meeting the other day, and there was somebody who was very angry. I was sharing, and they shared back, and they were very, very angry, really angry. And they actually were quite personal. They kind of, most people aren't. They're usually quite respectful, and they just keep it to themselves. And I could feel the start of the tension. And like you said, it was an alarm clock. And part of me just went, here's a chance. Let's see what happens. And you know what? It just relaxed, and I didn't take any of it personally. I really, like, genuinely didn't. And somebody said to me afterwards, I'm really sorry that happened. Are you okay? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm fine. Really, it's okay. But I could clearly see, and I really fell into that moment. Like, I felt so, like, it was almost like that was me talking, because I could really feel that anger. So without taking it personally, I could really get into feeling their anger. And
But it wasn't
their
defensive
facial
anger.
expression. No. And there was a moment of real, like, being really connected with them.
Yes. Yeah, beautiful.
However, when somebody shared later, which was more like trying to make me feel better by saying my share was good, and I felt more distance, which was really bizarre. But that doesn't matter. But and then there was a little moment afterwards that I thought, how dare they? How dare they? How dare they speak to me like that? But I got home, and you know what? I just went, that is such a gift. It was such a gift to, yeah. So it's almost like a walk through a bit of a barrier there, just to.
That sounds beautiful to me and big. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You might ask yourself too whether that person that was saying how good your share was, that you felt a bit separate from, whether or not, now this is where we are really looking at a subtle level here, whether or not some part of you said that wasn't genuine, that wasn't authentic, that they were saying it
Yes.
because they felt they should say it rather than because that was what they were feeling.
Yes. And there was a very slight sense that they were trying to protect me.
Yes.
Because it was
Yeah.
it was directly after the confrontation. So this is what we do, isn't it? Someone's confronted, somebody then comes in and tries to smooth it over.
Yep.
Yeah. So
and you can get that
yeah.
almost nobody at the meeting could even begin to appreciate how you did not take it personally.
Yes.
Because they would take it personally because they haven't seen what you've seen. Well, I just imagine that about them. I don't know how true it is, but yeah.
And there was no need to explain. There was no need to explain that. It's a very intimate. It's just here.
Yes.
And this is the place I can share that. And you were talking to Jed earlier about, all these different teachings. I remember not so long ago, I was getting so overwhelmed with all the different things I was watching and reading, and I've just stopped. And this is the only place really I come to now. And I was wondering why that is. And it's because of that mirror, because of that, what I just talked about, that a lot of the other stuff is still quite distant. It's still listening to somebody telling me something. But what I can get here is an ability to speak my experience with people that understand. Like, I didn't take that personally. For somebody else, they think I was a bit crazy or avoiding or whatever, shutting off my feelings maybe. But it wasn't. I was totally feeling the anger. I was totally with everything. So it's just a much. The other thing is the subtleties, and that comes with. I just notice people's reactions, facial reactions, or just energetic. It's really subtle, and that can be it can be quite painful. But again, it's that alarm clock. Like, I'm thinking that means something from here, and it just takes a moment to realize that that's their stuff. Just like that guy was. It was so obvious he was angry. But sometimes when you're with others and it's seeping out, but it's not obvious, and maybe it's a bit of disrespect in label terms, but it's just that knowing that none of that, all this is a response to that. Whatever is going on over there is their response to what is happening in the moment. I can't describe what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one, isn't it? Because it's like you're starting to rely on your intuition, which is much more perceptive than your mind, about facial expressions and body language and tones of voice and all of those things that add up to something, and you just get you can only put it down to say, I just have a feeling about. Right? But that's
Yeah.
just a way of describing. So the more you trust, I mean, you still get it wrong. I still get it wrong, but trusting intuition is the
Yeah.
only way to be authentic. I just don't have to think about it. It's just what comes out. So the consequence of in the beginning of trusting intuition is that, you know, oh God, I got it wrong, or oh, it's great, I got it right, you know, and then after a while it doesn't matter because it is what it is. You know, it's come out and that's it.
Yeah. And it's even my own inauthenticity. It's almost like I can see and feel my own
Yes.
inauthenticity. I think we talked about this before. I can feel it in my face. That's when this face just locks up. And
Oh,
but
okay.
it's almost like, well, so what? What the fuck? It doesn't matter.
Mm,
and just move past that as well, because that's just, it's not going to last.
mm,
Okay, like you said, okay, I said something that was a bit like, you know, it
yeah.
doesn't feel right,
Mm.
but just it doesn't have to stay and linger.
What
Yeah,
I really got excited about a second ago there was that iceberg on your face is your inauthenticity.
I think that's what it is too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my sense. Yeah, yeah, and it's okay. Like I'm not gonna. I don't. I'm not.
Yeah. It is what it is,
It's
right?
like
Yeah.
it's, and this is like this, like real, genuine. Like it's okay. Like I can see why it's there, and it's,
Mm, yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that seeing is what will melt it if it's going to be melted or not. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And the other thing that you just talked about is this intuition versus the head. Like I have you know, when I left my partner a year ago, there was months of intuition really like squeezing, going, this is,
Yeah.
if
And
you
you're not
don't
listening to
do
it.
this, if you don't do this, you're not gonna, it's, I don't know what it said, but I just knew that there was, it was
Mm,
getting to a corner that I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I'm getting to the same place with another big decision in life, but it has to do with money. So, really? And I just have to just, you know, somehow I have to use the brain to figure out with spreadsheets and put some focus onto everything I can possibly do to minimize that impact. But my intuition is really, it's
yeah.
not going away.
Yeah.
It's not, I know it's not going to go away, and it
So
keeps
that's
coming from
yeah,
different angles. Yeah.
yeah, that's what will happen. You'll engage the mind, you'll get your spreadsheets out, you'll do all that stuff while your intuition makes the decision. And then
Yes.
eventually you'll put all that stuff aside and go with what your gut says anyway. Or not. I mean,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
legitimate use of the mind is planning these kind of details. Right?
Yes.
But underlying that is motivation. If you it's not really the right word, but it is what you want.
Well, it's almost not what I want. It's just there's a movement towards something else, and it's time. I recognize it from other things that have happened before. It's
Mm,
just
yeah.
it's
And
just
often there'll be
change.
a bit of
Yeah.
conflict. There'll be, well, you know, I want this, but, and then the mind will come in saying, you know, but that'll the consequences of that won't be good or whatever, you know.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so
But it
there's
is it yeah, but it is highlighting. So when I really look at if I do jump off the cliff, that's how my mind wants to think of it, because it's scary in some, in one level it's scary, and the other, like, I'm quite excited. There's, like, if I could just not have to worry about that piece, I just go for it. I just
mm,
go for it. But there's, you know, this sense of responsibility and being a mom, and bills to pay, and like, but if I was totally free, I would go that way, and I actually know it will be okay.
Mm.
Um,
So you've already
so
made the
it's just that
decision by the sound of
I
it.
have, yeah.
Mm.
So but it's that balance, and when it squeezes, I'm quite curious to see what's what the mind says, why we can't. That's
Mm.
what is quite curious. Yeah.
Yep, 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 yeah. And not only what it says, but where it's coming from.
Yes. Yeah. And what I don't take too seriously anymore is, well, in the future you're going to regret this, because that's just, I've seen that so many times that doesn't actually happen. Well, it does, but it's not
Yeah, well, the mind often
helpful.
uses those imagined consequences as a way to manipulate things.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're realistic and sometimes not. Who knows? Yeah, sometimes it's just we just don't know, do we?
Oh, and even if it does, if I even have 2, 3, 4 a month of feeling shitty because I should have done blah blah blah, that's okay. It's really okay, because it'll be, yeah. I just know, yeah. It's just such a different perspective. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Well, I like the sound of where you are. It sounds good to me.
yeah. Things is just still moving. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they ever stop moving. They slow down a bit, but they don't stop. Well, who knows? It's just a metaphor, isn't it? This idea of movement. But yeah.
Mm, yeah. I sometimes I'm quite curious, because you and Marius, when you speak, you have um, from here it appears that you have some kind of uh, concept of a process or a structure that people are going through, and what I get out of these meetings is listening to people, and then I have internal insights, and I then realize what's changed. But if I just sit on my own, I can't see what's changed. Um, and what appears to be quite comforting is to know, when I hear you and Maria speak, that they're and when you were talking to Tammy, that gradual process is quite comforting.
Hmm.
But
Yeah. Okay. The experience here is not like that.
sometimes I use it as a bit of a crutch.
Mm.
That makes sense. Yeah. Like,
I
I
mean,
still think there's something to get towards, but
yeah. No. So you
yeah.
can be sure that what you imagine is here is just your imagination. Where, how how much it relates to reality is another story altogether. Um, Now, and I don't have a, a, a structure of progress that I apply. I kind of imagine that I just relate to people wherever they present from. Um, and so, but I can see that, yes, I do speak differently to somebody at the beginning of a journey, or wherever we want to call it, wherever they are, to somebody who's further down the track, so to speak. You know? So there is a graduated thing that happens, but I never think to myself, they're at this point or that point. It's just wherever they are is where I relate to them from. So it's like, yeah, but it's like, I don't know how I can give you the gift that I would love to give you, which is to say that you have everything I have. You know, there is nothing missing for you. There is whatever it is you imagine that I've got that you haven't got is just your imagination.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And you'll be doing what I'm doing at some point, probably.
Yeah.
Or not, but who
Well,
knows? Yeah.
I often when I'm listening to people, I listen differently now. I listen and I quite clearly see the
Where
I
they're
see
coming
this
from.
stuff. Yeah, yeah. I can't not. It's like it's automatic now. It's not.
Yep, yep,
It's not something I try and do.
yep.
So just as you're speaking, like this happens sometimes, and it's usually in this kind of group. So I don't know what it is, but as you spoke then, and this happened the other day when we spoke, so this has really come online and it's quite strong. And then uh, the, um, the the vision seems to go
Yeah.
really blurry. There's at the odd time it can go really white, but the like it's more when you speak and it just goes really blurry. It's
Yeah,
happened.
yeah. I would say, okay, you're just not wanting is not the right way to put it. You're having a reaction to what I'm saying, and there's some resistance to hearing what I'm saying, and that's what I'm imagining is going on. I don't know if it really is, but I imagine that.
Yeah.
Right? So when I say the way I see you doesn't agree with the way you see you, an iceberg develops.
Yes. Yeah, it's doing it now. Yeah.
Mm.
It's like the vision doesn't like it's like no. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So for some reason, you don't want to see yourself the way I see you.
Yeah. And sometimes it's pressure in the ears, so it doesn't want to hear. Yeah. Mm.
But you'll get over that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, one more thing. And Tammy was talking about the noise. I remember a few weeks ago, I was amazed that I was sat in the garden, and every time a bird chirped, it was like a jackhammer. It was like a jackhammer. It was almost too painful for a bird,
Mm.
and that didn't make cognitive sense. Like, why would that
Yeah, it's supposed to be beautiful, the
be?
sound of a bird,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And when you talked about the sound being so intimate and part of the experience, that's changed recently. Like loud motorbikes, I used to get my whole body used to go into like a freeze mode and
Mm.
just whereas what I notice happening now is like there's just a moment of like letting it in. Just let it in. Don't try and push it away. And like right to the core. Like
Mm.
it's just what is here. I can't stop that noise. I could put my hands over my head, but just like, and
Yeah.
it'll be over.
But you're letting it in at a feeling level.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And it's the same with the birds now.
Mm.
Um, I'm quite lucky because I can take my hearing aids out, so I can have quiet whenever I want. It's quite a gift. um, but yeah, so I really resonated with that. It's just letting it in.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, and certain frequencies have different effects as well. So when you think about that at a more detailed level, you can think that um, the background music in a movie will tell you what's going on, even without you. You could close your eyes and you could still know what's going on because of the background music, the overlay of it, and so on.
yeah,
You know, so there's so many cues that we're not conscious of that tell us about the outside world.
constantly.
Mm. Yeah, we often hear birds and we think what a beautiful sound the bird sound is, but they could be two birds fighting, or it could be one bird saying fuck off, fuck off. You never know. Yeah, if they're a crow.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
oh, just one more thing. This is really interesting. I found it interesting. I was in the car yesterday, and I was really fascinated because I was sat in traffic and it was really hot, and I often just sit and quietly inside, just look inside and meditate. But I was fascinated because in the rear view mirror, there was a woman who was in full flow rant. Like and this woman in the passenger seat was like this. She was just quiet, and she obviously wanted to get out of the car. And I don't know who this woman was talking to. I didn't know if she was talking to her or somebody in the through the speakerphone. Oh my gosh, I was so fascinated with the emotion that was being expressed. I mean, it was full out. It must have been 10 minutes, and I was trying to watch the traffic as well. But again, it was like I could really feel where she was. I could feel where she was, and I felt compassion for that level of suffering that was going on for her, but also the other person on the end of that.
Mm.
But I could see all the beliefs and the strong
Yep.
sense of holding somebody up to be defensive, not in a judgmental way, but in a real like, wow, that's what we do. That's what we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is really interesting just watching these things. Yeah.
Oh yeah, people are the most fascinating of all, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Mm.
There is a thing coming up for me recently, and I wanted to ask. It's about the sense of self and does it dissolve? Not permanently, but I think for me it's like a condition of, I wouldn't say expectation, because I don't really expect that it will happen or not, but like a condition of like this is the gateless gate. If
So,
it didn't happen, then I didn't went through the gate.
hmm. So when you say the sense of self, are you talking about that feeling you identify as a self?
It's like a gravitational pull inwards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The sense of center point,
Yes. Yeah.
the
And then
point of
you,
reference. Yeah,
yes.
yeah, this sense.
Mm. So when you experience that, and you can right now, I guess, what about it says it's a self? Or is it only become a self when you think about what you're feeling? So you have that feeling of gravitational pull, and that's a feeling of gravitational pull. And then you ask your mind, what does this mean? And you say it's a sense of self. Is that how it works for you?
It happens too quickly to say what comes first.
Okay, so if you just play those words again, it happens too quickly to say what comes first. As you say those words, are you aware of that gravitational pull, or only if you think about it as you're saying those words?
To answer that question, I have to think about the gravitational pull. So,
Right. So can you use your memory and say that a moment ago you were not aware of that gravitational pull? You were busy with
no, I
something
can't.
else. No. Okay.
I remember one experience when I was 4 years old. I talked about it already when there was, I have the memory of having no sense of body, mind, and center.
Mm-hmm. And you can remember what it felt like, that experience? Or can you only remember that it happened?
It's hard to tell. I don't know what was put on it later by the mind,
Yep,
how
yep.
it imagines it.
Mm.
Uh,
Okay, so you're trying to remember.
because it is like yeah, like it didn't feel like anything.
Mm. Yeah, because it's the absence of
But
something really, eh?
yes, but it was also very calm and
Mm.
nice
Mm.
because
Okay.
there was no feeling like.
Yes, there was no pull, push. Yeah. So a second ago, as you were remembering that and explaining that, were you aware at that moment of that gravitational pull? Or do you just assume that it was there?
Now, when I remember how I was talking about it, yes, there was gravitational pull
Okay.
in my memory
Mm.
right now.
Right. So some part of you says it's always there.
That's the memory. Yeah.
Mm. Yes, we can only use memory. Yeah. So is it, I presume that it's easy to recognize that as a sense of self.
Because it's always here.
Yeah, yeah. And it feels like a you. And so there's no problems, no question of that it seems like a sense of self. Does that mean it's an actual self?
It's a sense of self.
A sense of self, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So your original
You
question,
know,
yeah,
so it's like seeing a rainbow. Is there
yeah,
actual rainbow? It even doesn't make sense
yeah, exactly, yeah,
to say it. It is in the sense, but I see it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
sense the rainbow.
So that is your experience, and that's perfectly legitimate. Yeah. What it means about what is actually irrelevant, is it not? So would the dog see that rainbow? Or if they did, would they see the same number of colours that we see? I don't think so, because they don't have as many colour senses in their eyes as we do. Can a frog see the rainbow? Probably not, because it's attuned to movement. You know, maybe it can because maybe there is movement in a rainbow. I don't know. So what is actual is really irrelevant to what is our experience. Right? Though this sense of self that you have, this gravitational pull that you experience, is that capable of making a decision, of having choices? That doesn't make sense either, does it?
Yes, so I it's not really, it's like it is more like not, it is self, it is a foundation of self, maybe.
Are you saying that it's
Because the sense is here, then all the complicated, this complicated thing we call self is built on it.
hmm, so that decision making, choice happening occurs because of that sense of self? Are you saying that?
The sense of decision making. Oh, the decision making is so I don't know, like say, so advanced compared to this raw
It's
sense.
far away. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you have to build a lot of structures about.
Mm. So tell me, do you believe that there's a connection between one and the other, even though it's
Mm,
far away? Is there a connection, or are they independent? Or do
well,
you not, do you simply not know?
I think uh, I don't know. I take it as a working uh,
Hypothesis, yeah.
working hypothesis. I haven't inquired into this much because I haven't a reason.
Yeah.
It's a hypothesis. It works okay.
Mm.
It doesn't have anything to work with really. It's just
Yeah. It's almost not worth putting any energy into, eh?
yeah, like it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it's like so many other things in, I was going to say in the world, so many other things like quantum entanglement. You know, there is no explanation. It's just something that we can observe. Yeah, we can observe that there is this sense of gravity, and what that means is almost irrelevant to anything. To answer your original question, all I can say is experience here is that there is only a sense of self when I think about it, but it's recognized to be a story, an overlay on what actually happens. It's just a perspective or a way of describing something. So if I'm talking to the lady at the shop, I have no compunction about saying, I will give you this money, or whatever interaction goes on, it's irrelevant whether there's a sense of self or whether there's an actual self.
That you have no when you talk
Compunction.
I don't know this word.
Compunction. Um, um, I have no reticence. I have no holding back. Sorry,
Okay.
no
Okay.
inhibition about
Yeah. About
referring to myself as a self, or referring to her as a self.
yeah.
It's just the way it is. It's fine. Yeah. But it's only a perspective. If she asked me, is there really a self there giving me this money? I would have to say, I don't know. It just feels like there is.
Mm.
And then I would say, well, why are we talking about this? It's totally irrelevant, isn't it? Here's the money. Give me my vegetables and I'll go.
But you also have memory of moments when there is no sense of self?
Yes, most of the time there is no thought about it.
Not thought, sense.
Yes, no sense. There is no sense of a self. There is sense of happening. There is a sense of this organism experiencing. But a lot of the time there's not even that. Things do happen. Only in memory is there that sense. Like if you ask me, do I remember doing the buttons of my shirt or the zipper of my pants up this morning, I have to say, no, I don't remember doing that. It just happened. I went out to lunch with my wife and friends today, and I had a pulled pork hamburger and chips for lunch. Do I remember that I ate them? Yes. Do I remember what each mouthful tasted like? No. Do I remember how many chips I ate? No. Do I remember that I ate chips? Yes. So it's details that I didn't store into memory. Do I remember what it tasted like? No. Do I remember that it tasted? Yes. Did I experience myself eating? No. Did I experience eating? Yes. There was no consideration of who was eating. There was just eating. But
You
if I
know,
remember back,
I think for me, uh, decision making is not the most important thing about self. It's more like very still a sense of self-witnessing decisions being made. Even if I had a strong feeling a few times that I'm doing something, but I have no idea why am I doing it, and I have no control on. But there was still a self witnessing this. Oh my God, what is happening? Yeah. Mm. And this sense, it doesn't go away.
I can remember looking at the menu and deciding what to eat. But I can't remember being aware of myself doing that. But I can remember what the menu looked like. And it's tricky. I can almost remember me looking at the menu, but not me looking at the menu, but looking at the menu, a witnessing of the menu. But I have no witness of myself witnessing the menu.
No, it's not that I'm witnessing myself. I am the witnessing. That is the sense of self. That's
okay,
me,
okay,
the
yeah, yeah.
witnessing.
Right, so that's where it's different from you. So I wouldn't say I am the witnessing. I would say there is just witnessing. And it's not because I'm being pedantically different. It's that I have no memory of experiencing the I am part. So there has to be some metacognition to say I am the witness or I am witnessing. There was none of that. There was just witnessing.
Yeah, and for me, it's like sticks to this sense of center. Like
Yes, yes,
witnessing
yes.
is in the center.
So
How
witnessing
do
was
I know
having,
that? I don't know.
yeah, witnessing was happening from some perspective for you. And that perspective was that center. Mm. Well, to come back to your original question, will that ever go? I have no idea. It's not here for me. I have no idea about you. I have no idea about you. Will it or will it not? I don't know.
I also think that when it happens, only then. It's like I heard many times that people who awakened, they were looking at Buddhist suttas or I don't any other tradition and saying, "Oh, yeah, it's exactly like that." It's said so clearly. Why I haven't recognized it? But so it is. There is this recognition. Yeah, it's like that exactly.
Well, I like that you say it's a recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like someone talking about their experience, and I am recognizing this
Yes.
experience. Yeah.
Mm. And if it happens that way, which it frequently does, I'm sure, it's interesting to note that you're recognizing something being triggered by what they say, but that something you're recognizing had already happened. And yet it didn't get recognized until that trigger turned up. I just thought that was an interesting point.
I don't understand.
Well, if they're reading a sutta, for example, and they go, ah, yes, that's what it's like for me, they're remembering what it was like for them. It's from the past, and it was like that, but they
Yeah.
hadn't recognized it until they read that, till they got triggered by that reading or
What
whatever.
do you mean they hadn't recognized it?
Well, when they say, ah, yes, it's like that for me, that is the recognition that it is already like that for them. And that it was like that before they recognized it. It was already there before they recognized it.
No, that's not what I've meant.
All right. So you're saying that that recognition was the
I
original
mean,
event.
I imagine it like, you know, as if suttas were describing how it is to feel snow.
Mm.
And here I am, someone who has never seen snow. But then one day I go somewhere where it is snowing and I see the snow, I can touch it, I can taste it, I can rub it
Yeah.
on my
Yeah.
face. And then I read suttas and say, yeah, it's exactly like that. It
Okay.
was, I have imagined it before, but the imagination is completely
Yeah.
different than
Yeah.
really feeling the
Mm.
snow.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not a recognizing of that state. It's a discovery of that state.
Well, reading while reading the suttas, they Cognize.
No,
Yes.
no, they discover. Recognize is, if you break the word up to recognize, is that they're seeing again, not seeing for the first time. They're seeing again. Recognize.
Yes, because now reading the suttas, they are seeing it in memory.
So they're cognizing, not recognizing. Now, it's a pedantic point, but discovery makes more sense to me. They're discovering it as a result of that trigger of the sutta or whatever triggered it.
What do they discover?
What snow was like.
They discovered it when they touched it.
Yes. And the sutta was the touching of it, maybe.
No.
Well, the sutta was the...
Sutta is the description,
Okay, all right. Yeah.
how it is to touch the snow.
Mm. But there was a connection between the reading of the sutta and the discovery of the touch.
Just how you can read the description of touching the snow
Yeah.
and recognize it.
Mm.
Like connect the words with your memory of touching the snow.
Mm. So you're still waiting for that sutta.
Not for the sutta, for that what suttas
For the snow,
describe.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, okay.
For the snow, yeah.
Mm.
And it's also often that after that they completely lose interest in all the suttas and
Yes. Yeah.
because it's just description.
Yeah. It's done its job. Yeah. And what about the people that are traipsing through the snow saying to themselves, I wonder when I'm going to get to the snow?
Yeah, it can happen too.
Mm. That happens more frequently, I think, than most imagine. Because snow ain't snow unless it's a certain depth or has certain qualities of some kind. Unless we can ski on it, it's not snow. Yeah, or whatever. Okay, it's time for me to go. Thank you. Bye, Lou.